Hello, everyone. We have a special treat today. We have Pedro from the YouTube channel, the Audiofilos y Locos, which translates in English to the Audiophiles and the Crazies. Pedro is a passionate YouTuber with a ton of knowledge on records and various audio gear. If anyone in my community is a Spanish speaker, you definitely want to check his channel out. And he also happens to be a very talented oboist and English horn player. And when he's not recording YouTube videos, he is busy playing in the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. So welcome, Pedro. It's good to have you on the channel finally.
Hello, Michael. Happy to be here with your people.
So, you know, you and I kind of occupy unique positions in this community because, you know, it seems like there's very few people who are actively involved in audio and classical music, especially. There's always been some musicians in like rock and jazz that have taken up this hobby, but it seems to be something that classical musicians today aren't really in tune with.
Yeah, and you and I probably discovered that once we get an audience of people who enjoy what we're doing, then you no longer feel ashamed of being an oboe player. It's like, they're like, yeah, we dig what you do. We like that you're an oboe player, and we want to learn more about what you do. You don't have to pretend to be an 80s rock kind of guy, which I do sometimes. But the beginning of my channel was, the idea was to bring more people into the hall, to invite audiophiles to get out of the cave and come to live concerts. But we know how that went.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It's not good for us right now, but it gives us a lot of time to explore our hobbies, I guess. I guess that's the silver lining.
Sure, and we're still talking about music, which is what we do.
So I wanna ask you a few questions about you know, about your audio journey, because you know, you're a few years older than myself, and you've had the opportunity to both come up in the classical music scene and also, you know, develop your hobby and develop your interests as an audiophile. So tell me about, like, kind of what came first. You know, tell me about some of your early systems and how you kind of navigated, you know, being an up and coming musician with you know, your passion.
Well, let me see if I can remember all the systems. But, you know, my parents, we grew up in Spain. I was born in Puerto Rico, but my brother and I grew up in Spain. And my father listened to classical music all the time. And it's not like he listened to Mozart. No, he listened to Prokofiev, Stravinsky. And we got that in our ears. We went to concerts on Sundays to hear the orchestra in Madrid with Fulbert de Burgos was the conductor at the time. You know that. It's a well-known name, Fulbert de Burgos.
Yeah, I have some of his recordings. I think he was on Decca at some point?
Maybe, and before that it was Ataulfo Argenta was the conductor of the orchestra in Madrid. And so when we were there, it was Fulbert de Burgos. And when we came back to Puerto Rico, you know, we listened to a lot of music. My father transitioned from the mono system to an Onkyo stereo system that was sort of like, you know, it came with a receiver and a turntable and speakers. And I dug deep into that. I listened to so much music. My first love with the music that I identified with the oboe was the Brandenburg concertos, the #1. And I listened to that all day long. And I had so
do you remember
many
which
versions
recording?
of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
you had.
Yeah, I started with the Hanon chord. I got it as a present for my birthday from my parents. And I must have dug out the grooves to the other side. And
those Hanon chord recordings, the Hanon chord and Leonhardt stuff on, I think it was Telefunken, they're so much fun. Because they're so new. Like that type of performance was just unheard of on a record label at that time. So it was almost kind of like rock and roll. They were figuring out the instruments. They weren't really proficient yet.
Yeah, it was Das Alte Werk. And yes, it was Baroque instruments, period instruments. I had never heard anything like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And then I had the Gustav Nonhardt version, which I managed to get again because, of course, I got rid of records when I was traveling all over the world as a musician. But I'll be able to regain some of those back. But, you know, after that, I inherited a bunch of magazines, stereo reviews, when I was 12 years old from a friend who died. And I just watch those ads, and I couldn't really read a lot of English, but I just looked at the images and I learned about technologies and tweeters and woofers and, you know, all that stuff. And then when I was in college, I started to buy small stuff. I remember one of my first turntables was a horizontal Mitsubishi deck, or vertical, I should say.
Yeah.
And yeah, I dabbled into a bunch of things. I had Sansui amplifiers. I had, but one of my
I still have a Sansui amplifier.
Yeah, one of my most memorable speakers were the Celestion SL6 SI, which I recently reacquired after more than 30 years of parting, and I am really happy with them. But I've had quite a few things.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned Celestion speakers, because to this day, I don't know that particular model. I don't know the model names, but to this day, when I was early in this hobby, I was big into collecting like vintage gear and going through vintage gear. I think we talked about in the last chat that we had. You know, I had like a Pioneer receiver, and I had some Pioneer HPM speakers, and I had some JBL speakers. But at my local Goodwill, or maybe it was Salvation Army, at my local Salvation Army in Austin, one day I walked in there and there was a pair of gigantic Celestion towers from like the 1970s, and they had the passive radiators, and they were like $150, but I didn't know anything about them, so I went home to do research, and I researched about them and learned that they were really, really good, and I went back and they were gone.
Those were probably the Ditons, right? Ditons?
Maybe.
That's what they call them.
It's been like 6-7 years since I ran across those.
Well, that's one thing about the United States that's amazing. When I lived in Pittsburgh, I would go to the Goodwill store and I would see so much gear so cheap. But that's the problem. You buy those speakers for $100, then there's more to buy. And you go the next time you go and you end up hoarding. In many other places, people will kill to get those speakers for $500. But here, there's an overabundance. I remember one of the first things, now that you say it, one of the first systems I got when I went to Pittsburgh, I was 17 years old to study the oboe, was a Harman Kardon. It was an all-in-one. Was it Harman Kardon, or was it, I think it was Brown, maybe. I can't remember. But it was all-in-one, one of those things where the turntable is on top of the unit.
Yeah, yeah.
And it came with speakers, but it actually sounded very good. And it was well made for what it was. And I don't know if I paid more than $30 for it. I can't remember, but it was very good.
Well, so, I know a lot of those brands, especially like brands that were run out of like department stores or things like that, they get like well-known companies to make this stuff for them. Like they get like Pioneer and Techniques to manufacture gear for them, and they put it under their name.
I remember JCPenney's had the MCS, which was by Panasonic. Yeah.
Those I can still find occasionally in thrift stores. I don't know what it's like in the Northeast. I mean, I remember in New York City, I found almost nothing when I lived there in thrift stores up there.
No, everybody scarves everything down. Even the Goodwill store here near me in Westchester, which actually recently closed, they never had anything. I buy records there. I used to buy a lot of mono records there, but no, people are always looking for stuff around here.
Yeah, I think it's kind of that way all over now. I kind of lucked out in that just when I was starting to discover this stuff was kind of the tail end of when you could actually go to Goodwill and find stuff.
Is that how you got those HPM 100s, the Pioneers?
No, I got those on Craigslist. I had to actually, it was one summer. I mean, I only had those speakers for about a year, I want to say.
So that bad, huh? That bad.
They weren't great. I mean, they could play loud. They were pretty much only fun with 70s rock. You know, if I played anything other than 70s rock on them, I just didn't want to listen to them.
That's what I want them for, because upstairs I have a Pioneer rack system, and that's the only thing that I need to complete the Pioneer system. I figure if you play Michael Jackson on it, you know, it would sound good. That's about the only thing, probably.
Yeah, I would actually almost rather get JBLs than the Pioneer speakers, to be honest.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you another question I had, kind of related to where you're at as a musician, is like now that you've been in the Met for a number of years, what's like? Do you talk about this stuff with anyone there? I mean, you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but is this something like? Do people care about like recording quality and audio quality, like when they're listening back to recordings and studying where you are?
Musicians don't like music. They come home after a 4-hour opera. They want silence. That's what they want. As you can see in my channel, I've interviewed conductors and singers, and very few of them actually have any equipment at home, other than that famous four-letter brand.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, well, I have been able to convert a few people. I was the same thing with the watches. I was the only guy into watches, and then now there's 2 or 3 guys who are into watches. And of course, they want to get expensive Swiss watches, but I have Seiko. I'm not happy with them.
Seikos are great.
Yeah, so I'm really into the history of them. So same with equipment. Some people, I get a lot of people asking me, probably you too. Oh, Pedro, what should I get? And, most of these days, I just say get headphones. That's the way to go. You know, but there are some people, and there are people who care about quality, but not that many. And I'm not, you know, I don't care that people know. I used to be worried when I opened my channel that my colleagues would judge me. They would probably say, Pedro, why aren't you opening an oboe channel or a music channel? Why are you talking about just equipment? My answer is that there are plenty of great oboe channels. There are plenty of great musicologists talking about music. And, you know, when it comes to trolls, I'd rather have people trolling me about stereos than about my playing. You know?
Yeah, it's a little less personal.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you'd say that, because, you know, in my friends and like the people I'm with, yeah, I mean, for like a serious orchestral musician, I actually helped someone in the Tucson Symphony with this. Headphone setups can be really great and very cost effective, because like I really want to hear what's going on in the orchestra, like pick out where the clarinet, where a certain instrument is, and so, you know, I'd send them down like a inexpensive headphone route to really be able to, you know, because with $100 pair of headphones and a DAC and a title subscription, that's a great system right there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you buy a pair of speakers, like some of those famous clips that I reviewed very badly, or some other brands, you know, you're spending $600 on a pair of speakers. Those speakers were made, maybe it cost them $75 to make them. I know the tweeters are like 10 cents, or maybe $10, and the woofers. And if you want to upgrade your speakers and you say, oh no, I'm going to get a pair of speakers for $1,200, the incremental, I mean, the amount of quality that you're going to get out of it is not going to be as much as if you just go into a complete set of headphones.
Yeah.
If you buy a headphone system for $1,200, instead of buying those $1,200 speakers, you will take off into high-end world.
Oh, absolutely.
And the other thing people don't know is you can listen to headphones with subwoofers. You can have a subwoofer next to you, and you can put it out of the preamp, and you can use the subwoofer to listen to headphones and get the full experience if you want.
I didn't know that. I'll have to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You can do it.
I know from people though in my kind of social circles, I mean, headphones are definitely a very cost-effective way to get that experience, but a lot of what I'm starting to turn my friends onto and like turn my community onto is the idea of just like, hey, let's come over and we'll listen to records.
Yeah.
And just having like, you know, a group of like 4 or 5 people, well, before the pandemic, a group of people just, you know, we sit down, we have a drink, light conversation, we put on a record, and we just like sit and experience it together.
Yeah.
And that's something that used to be commonplace. It used to be something just people did, is social time, and slowly that kind of went away. Do you remember, did you ever have experiences like that growing up?
Well, that was another thing. Thanks for bringing it up, because that was another thing that really got me to the audio fever when I was a kid. My father had a friend who was a total audiophile. He was an artist. My father was a writer, a novelist, and his friend was a graphic artist. but he was really into hi-fi, and he had a big house, and he had huge Altecs, and he had phase linears, like a bunch of phase linear amplifiers, and he had all these DBX compressors and companders and noise reduction things that had a million lights. In those days, that was very popular, and we would just sit there, and it was incredible. As a kid, though, I do remember it was too loud. Yeah, it's like happens to audiophiles. They want to, impress. But yeah, we used to go often to listen to music. My dad and him would just sit and have a few drinks and listen to music for a long time. And that also got me really interested into it.
Yeah, it's almost like doing a book club. Like you want to experience something, and then you want to talk about what you just read. Like you ever read a really good book and you want to process it with someone, and there's no one around to.
Absolutely, and we need to do it because audiophiles are pretty antisocial. I mean, we just live alone in the cave and we don't talk to each other. I might have an audiophile that lives on the other street and I don't even know about it, So, yeah, I thought about starting an audiophile club in my town.
I mean, they exist. I know there's one in Phoenix that will meet at either hi-fi dealers or various people's houses, and I've been meaning to go at some point, and I never have, but it's something I want to try.
I joined the Audiophile Society when I was at Juilliard, but I was a student, and there was no way I could have gone anywhere. But I did join the New York Audio Society. I never went to a meeting or anything, but I know about them. They're overextended now. You cannot join.
I do remember when I lived in New York, I would go to. I went to one event at what's the place down in kind of the Village, the big audio store, Stereo Exchange.
Oh yeah.
It was VPI was debuting their Classic Direct. Big, like $40,000 direct drive turntable. Michael Fremer came. He did a turntable setup. The VPI father and son. I'm forgetting their name right now, but I usually know it.
I know them.
They were there. That was cool, but that was the only time when I lived in the city that I did anything like that.
So have you been to audio shows?
I have. I've been to, when I lived in Montreal, I went once to Montreal Audio Fest. That was the only time I've been to like a traditional, like you go into hotel rooms and they have setups in each room. That's the only show like that I've been to. And then I did a write-up for Audiophilia. I did a write-up on the local Focal NAMM dealer. Yeah. Their big showroom opening in Scottsdale where they have the big Focal like the like $320,000 giant Focal system. With the mono blocks that cost like $100,000 each, and yeah.
Well, as long as you have money to launder, there's stuff to spend money on. It's great. Well, you want to know something? I went to CES because after I graduated from Juilliard, I went to Puerto Rico. I worked in a hi-fi shop, and I went to CES in Chicago when it used to be a big thing. It was like 89 or 90. It was still the big audio thing. It was the biggest. And one of those days I was there, Ray Steele played the Strauss Concerto. So wow. I went to see him play the Strauss Concerto. He was at the very end of his career. He was very old. He sat down and he read it from the music, and but he got a huge ovation because he was Ray Steele, one of the legends. Yeah. Speaking of Ray Steele, I wanted to show you. Do you have some time to talk about some living?
I was just gonna make the transition. Yeah, because that's what we're supposed to talk about today.
Oh yeah, that would be great. You're the expert. I already tell people in my channel they gotta come see you because you're the expert at this. So how do we do this? Oh, you know what? Before I show you anything, I want to show you this. It's completely unrelated, but have you ever at least? Can you get this in the States? You can get them.
But I don't know. I don't know that. Is that an SACD?
No, it's a CD. I got them in Japan years ago, like 20 years ago. And they're very cute. They look like little records, and they even come in a plastic thing, like a record.
Oh yeah, I have Japanese CDs that come in the slipcases like that.
Okay, I just didn't know if this is something because I found them, and I had the Blue Train one, which I cannot find right now. but I had it in my computer, and I was listening through Tidal, and I was comparing mine that's in the computer, because I got these headphones. I got the COS electrostatics from Massdrop.
Oh, cool.
Sound great, very transparent. So I was comparing my copy of Blue Train of this to the Cobus 192, to the Tidal MQA, and I swear my version is different. Like there's something in the mix that just sounds.
It's probably a completely different mastering.
The throatiness of the saxophone, all the air in the saxophone is more predominant in these copies.
I'm not surprised because I mean I'm sure you've heard this before that Japanese masterings tend to be more treble focused.
Yeah, they are, and there's nothing at the bottom. Most recordings I have on record of Japanese pressings are just ornaments because they're too bright. Some of them, in my opinion.
Some. But
yeah.
There's a few that are good. It kind of just depends. A lot of times they would get very poor quality tape copies, but sometimes they'd send, like sometimes British labels and US labels would send them the metal parts. And so they just make the record out of the metal parts, but they do it on Japanese vinyl.
That's good. Well, I told you my favorite record and no one has this record, I think I showed it to you on my interview, is that Schubert 9 with Zell in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Japanese pressing, Sony, Columbia. You can't even find a photo of the jacket on Google. That's how rare it is. Or Discogs, or I've never met anyone. I want to talk to Michael Fermer to see if he has it. I bet he doesn't. Are you
he might, but he might not be able to. He might, but he might not be able to find it.
But I remember, that's right. But I bought this when I was a Juilliard. I think I bought it at Tower Records. It could have been that it was specially made for them. And I listened on, I had a Denon record player with a Denon integrated. I had Wharfdale Diamonds, and I had Orthophone X something moving coil high output. And that record sounded amazing. But the good thing about it is that it had so much high frequency content that you could hear the hiss from the master tape, which I thought it was kind of cool. And then you can hear Mark Lifshitz playing the solo in the second movement. You can hear the noise coming out of his throat very clearly. Everything, the tone, the reed, it was great.
It's funny that you say Mark Lifshitz. Now I know, before you pull out a record, I want to pull out a record for you.
All right.
Because I know you know this record because I think you posted it on your channel. You know this one.
Yeah. I have a different copy of it. That's weird.
You have a different copy of this?
Is mine Columbia or is it? No, it's the same one, but it doesn't have that cover.
It might be the later RCA repress. This is the original Shaded Dog.
Oh, nice.
And it sounds really good. I think we both share an enthusiasm for Mark Lifshitz playing on this record.
Oh, every oboe player in this country. I'll tell you a funny story. You know, I have a secret needle drop channel where I've been making videos.
That's where I found this.
Right. Well, if you see that video, it's just to explain to everyone, it's a video of Mark Lifshitz playing Cantata 82 with Mac Harrell, famous baritone, and Lynn Harrell, the amazing cello player who recently died. Yeah. He commented on it and he said, please keep posting, you know, and then he talks about, instead of talking about his dad, he talks about Mark Lifshitz. And then Mark Lifshitz's wife found it and she commented on it. I think she said, like, who are you? Because my channel is clandestine. And then I wrote to her separately on an email. Yeah, so that video has to stay there forever.
Yeah, and it's a shame that we didn't get more really high quality recordings of Mark Lifshitz playing, because I mean the recordings with Zell in Columbia are, I mean, they're great recordings for what they are, but they didn't have the technology to do what RCA were doing.
Why is that? Why?
I've heard rumors, and I talked about this a little on when I did the Brahms video, and I've heard from people that George Zell fancied himself a engineer. And one story I heard was that when he would be sent home with test presses, he would play them with the speaker under his couch. And that he wanted to hear the clear sound through the muffle of his couch.
Oh my God!
I don't know if that's true, but it's certainly it makes sense when you think about it. You go, oh, that's why this record is
It sounds
bright.
like a fable. Sounds like a fable. But you know, same thing with New York Philharmonic and Bernstein. Most of those recordings are awful. The playing is good, but a lot of them are pretty bad.
Some of them, I mean, I have a couple of the Columbia 6i ones that were done on tube gear before they switched over to solid state. Some of them are good, but again, nowhere near RCA and Mercury or Decca or anything like that.
See, I'm so oblivious to that. I need to show you like record by record because I have a lot of those things, but I don't know what I have. I just listen to the music and I need to learn more about it. Yeah, I need to keep watching your channel.
So why don't you show me some more records?
Okay. Do you can I show you some mono recordings? Because
absolutely. I brought out some mono too.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you will know their counterparts or their history, and I'll show you the Mercury.
I don't think I have that one, but I've been looking for it for a while.
Okay, this one is pretty mint. It still has the original plastic. I might have gotten this on my Goodwill store because nobody wants mono.
Yeah. I would be very curious to see. I'd be very curious to hear how the Minnesota Orchestra does La Scala di Seta in the 1950s.
Actually, you know, I haven't listened to it. Some of these things I don't want to bother listening. I'd rather not know. But it's a good. Is it the Radamés Angelucci, right? Probably.
I don't know enough about the Minnesota players at that period. I know I have. You know, I didn't grab it out, but I want to say one of my favorite Minnesota recordings, and I don't have the original. I have the Speaker's Corner pressing of it. Is that Mercury Living Presence of Prokofiev 5 with Minnesota. And I don't know, have you heard that one?
I don't know if I have it. I could. I will have to listen to my Discogs.
It's with Durati. And it's so good. It's very kind of raw and almost, the winds are almost a little blatty, but it's got so much life to it that, you know, some of the cleaner recordings we get today just don't have.
Let me write it down, and I will look it up afterwards. Prokofiev 5, Mercury. Do you have it in stereo or mono?
I have the Speaker's Corner reissue of it, so in stereo. Yeah.
Does this come in living stereo? Is there a living stereo version of this?
I don't think I've ever seen a living stereo copy of that. It's not a cover that I recognize.
It says RIAA. This is, why doesn't it say the date? It doesn't say the date. Probably in the, will it say the date here?
Probably not on the label, I don't think.
Okay, well, to be determined. All right, show me one.
All right, I'm going to show you some mono now, because I know you're the mono guy.
Yeah.
And if you like Mercury's, you probably know this record, I think.
I don't know.
You don't know this one?
I don't think I do.
This is Raphael Kubelik in the Chicago Symphony doing Pictures at an Exhibition. And this was the recording that when a reviewer got a hold of it, he said, it sounds like you're in the living presence of the orchestra.
Ah.
And that's how they got the name Mercury Living Presence.
Ah.
So this was from the pre-stereo era, but in the early 50s. And it's pretty good. It's not quite as clean as the Reiner, and the tempos are a little weird. Like the Promenade is like, dun, 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 da, da, dun, da, da, da. But it's a good, fun recording, and it's I don't get to hear much of the Chicago Symphony from the pre-Reiner era.
Ah, yeah, those are good. I like the Cleveland one. Cleveland, is it Mazel? Max sounds great on that one. John Max.
I don't think I've. If I've heard it, I haven't heard it in a while.
It was one of the first CDs I ever bought. It was one of the first CDs that came out. It was Telarc. Yeah. Okay. Can I show you one?
Sure. I do have that in stereo.
Okay.
I got that. I got the stereo version of that at Encore Records in downtown Ann Arbor.
Oh, cool. Is it good?
Yeah, it's a little noisy, but
Yeah.
it's hard to find clean copies of these.
Well, that's the beauty of mono, as we've spoke about before. Once you get a mono cartridge, there's no noise. Bizarre. All right, show me another one.
This is another one from the same series. So these two Mercuries, I both got at a Goodwill in Austin. So this is another one. This is Durati in Minneapolis doing Scheherazade, and this was never issued in stereo.
I have never seen that.
The
I
cover's
have it
great, right?
I know. I was gonna say, is it possible I have it in another? No, it only came out with that jacket, I guess.
Yeah, I mean they might have done it on the like the Olympian series they did later. You know those?
I have some of those too. Yeah.
But they use really like noisy vinyl for those. I think I remember trying a few of those before, and they just never really sounded great. No, but I got these for like $1 each.
But when you say noisy vinyl, are you playing it with a mono needle?
No, but I'm pretty sure all the Olympians, they did the whole like electronically for stereo kind of thing.
But are the grooves 0.7 or are they 1 mil? Do you know?
Well, the Olympian stuff was done in the late 60s, early 70s.
So they're probably 0.7. But the point is that you cannot play mono records with a stereo cartridge because they're not going to track the same way because of the vertical movements. You can't have vertical compliance. You need only side to side. And once you do that, then the noise will go away because with a stereo cartridge, it's trying to play everything and it's bouncing around. So keep those records and try them with a mono cartridge. I'll send you one if you want. They're not that expensive, but I'll send you one if you want to.
Yeah, I just don't want to have to reset up my arm every single time.
Oh, I forgot.
I don't have the techniques like you. I really want to get the 1200G, but that'll be some point in the future.
Yeah, that's why I have two. Yeah, I have one so I can mess around with cartridges. Yeah. Although now I have this arm. Can I show you? Can we do some geeky stuff?
Of course.
Okay. I got this back from Steve Long. Oh, hi, Coco. This is Coco. What do you want, Coco? I don't have any food. I got this from Steve Bloom. This is it's called Audio Mods.
Huh.
It's basically a modified reg arm. And I just sent it to him to check the continuity because this is what came with my Mitchell turntable until I got my SME. But now I'm going to install this one on the Mitchell.
What?
Beautiful, right?
Yeah. I can barely tell it's a Riga arm.
Well, it's been perforated, it's been nickel chrome, and it has a micrometer which allows you to change the VTA.
Wow. Yeah, that is the downside of the Riga arms is they make it impossible to change VTA.
I'll tell you another downside. For a company that's been making turntables for 40 years, they need to get this right someday. The anti-skating. It's just...
Riga doesn't do that anymore.
No?
They do an actual knob, anti-skate knob.
Well, then maybe this is possibly an old version or whatever. But I don't like this because it's really hard to get it to work.
Oh, my VPI has that.
Yeah.
And because of the way the coil is twisted on the tone arm, you don't really need it.
Well, I know the Riga. A lot of people say that you don't need anti-skating. You know.
I mean, Riga say you don't need a lot of things. They also say you don't need to clean your records.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to show you some living stereos that I really like. This is one one of the ones I've had the longest in my collection, and it's not an original shaded dog. It's the later white dog. You know the difference, right?
No, I don't. Please tell me.
So, well, this is a recording you probably know. This is Reiner in Chicago doing Mahler Das Lied.
I don't think I have it on living stereo. Might have many other versions.
So I really need to get an original Shaded Dog pressing of this because, you know, the Shaded Dog, they're the earliest, they were the original pressings. And then later RCA reissued the Living Stereo stuff just a couple years later. And they're almost as good. They're still very good. But the difference is the dog on here is, there's no red shading behind it.
You know what? Can we check it? I was going to show you exactly that. I was going to ask you because I have two versions of this, and I want you to tell me which one is better or whatever.
I got out that record.
Well, tell me if any of these are any good. Okay, this one, that's a Shaded Dog.
Yeah, is it a stereo?
Yes, it's stereo.
Yeah,
Living
that's
stereo,
an
right?
original pressing.
What about this one? Okay, this one has. Is this a White Dog? No, it's not even. This is later, right?
Ooh, yeah, that's much later. That's that, my friend. That's pressed on. It's pressed on Bic pens.
On what?
On Bic pens.
What does that mean?
That's the joke is that in the late 70s, because of the oil crisis, a lot of the labels were pressing their records on recycled Bic pens.
Oh, the pens, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. See, I don't know any of this.
Now, I you know, what's funny is I got that record out too, and this is a Shaded Dog, but I also have the new Analog Productions reissue of it, and it's better.
Some people are saying that some of these recordings are actually better.
Because these original, as good as these, so the advantages and the disadvantages are, on the new recordings, they're mastered in a way that they know the kind of turntables that the buyers are going to be playing them on. You know, they're not going to be playing them on Fisher-Price turntables.
Yeah.
So they can cut deeper bass. They can cut more dynamics. They're really going for an audiophile experience, whereas the originals were mass market.
Yeah.
The downside is the tape's been sitting for 40 years.
That I was going to ask you, but there's no digital
no,
masters?
Not for Analog Productions. That company does everything all analog. They get all of their RCA reissues are cut by now Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound in New York, who is the protege of I believe George Marino.
Okay.
Famous. So this guy has a full analog chain. And he does it the old school way. So it's a full analog product. And not every company does it that way, but Analog Productions do.
I have the, let me see, I'll find you, because I also wanted to talk to you about this. The Brahms Violin Concerto.
Which one?
Chicago, with Ray Steele playing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I have, yep, that's the one.
But I think I told you before that I have this also, mono. And this is what you need to do, Coca-Cola versus Pepsi. This is, when you listen to this one, it sounds amazing on your stereo. You get the special cues and everything. But when you hear the oboe solo in the second movement, you hear Ray Steele like, you can barely place it, right? It's like, was it electronically processed or no? Was it recorded in stereo?
It was probably recorded with I want to say probably a 3 microphone setup, no more than 5.
Okay, yeah, but that's what they used. But
not every RCA recording is magic just on its own. I mean, some of them are better than others. I'll have to look up the RCA Bible and see what they have to say about the sound quality of the original, because it could not be. It might not be Analog Productions' fault. It might just be the recording.
When you listen to this one on a mono speaker, you can hear the violin and the oboe just jumps out of the speaker.
Really?
I mean, you can hear Ray Steele right there. You can hear everything.
I'm surprised they use a different cover. Usually they use the same cover for.
I don't know why. It's Hi-Fis with Reiner. Could it be a different event?
I don't know. It's probably the same one, but.
So is this an earlier version or an older version? Oh, I'll show you the record. It has a 99-cent label on it. How sad.
Yeah, I mean that looks like it's probably the same. I don't know. I tell you though, the one I reach for is not, even though Heifetz's playing is great, and the Chicago Symphony is the Chicago Symphony, the one I reach for is this one.
Oh, I have that one too, I think.
Yeah. And this is an original. This was I got this at the Academy Records on 18th Street, because they have these Mercuries and these RCAs. No one else does. They have them.
You know who supposedly has them too? Princeton Exchange. I think they have a lot of those things.
My last week in New York, I took the train down to Princeton Record Exchange. I think the deal with Princeton is that they price everything kind of low, so the stock moves super quick.
Ah, okay.
So it's very much like what they have on that day. Sometimes they get those records in, but sometimes they did. I didn't find anything amazing. I found some, like when I was there, I found some like inexpensive but cool like British pressed EMIs. Mm-hmm. But I didn't find any RCAs or anything like that. But anyway, this is the, I'm sure you have some of these. You've seen the original like deep maroon label.
Yeah, I have a bunch of those. Is that mono or no? Stereo?
No, this is stereo.
Okay. I don't know if I have exactly that one, but I have a bunch of Henry Sering ones.
Oh, I love him. He's fantastic.
Here's another, here's an interesting Mercury for you.
Oh yeah, you're about to show that. I've never seen that.
It's a it's a sampler.
But of some of these like hard to find Mercury records, the same recordings.
It has España, Xavier. It has Petrushka. It's just excerpts from, the Holst, the Suite Number 1, which I like so much. Brahms 4. Yeah, it's Popere, Dorati, Howard Hanson, Kubelik. Oh wait, Kubelik. So yeah, but I don't see the Mussorgsky. And I have some even earlier ones, which I don't know, like this.
I've never seen that. Wow.
I have a lot of these. And I have some decals that are this big.
The 10-inch ones?
Yeah, I have a lot of those. I have some RCAs. But this, let me see what the label looks like. This is Eric Leinsdorf.
Wow. Yeah, so many of these monos, I never really got that interested in unless I saw them in like a thrift store.
But if it says Living Presence, and it's really old, then when was that fabled reviewer? I don't know.
I think I want to say the Pictures recording was like 1951 or something.
Oh yeah, okay. Because this must be around that time.
They were recording a ton of stuff in the 50s.
Yeah, this is Tchaikovsky, Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer Night's Dream, Pavan, and L'Après-Midi. And I also, let me show you another one. Where is it? Oh, never mind, I don't know where it is. Well, this one.
Oh yeah. That is it's a loud record.
I was gonna say a lot of the classical music I don't enjoy in mono because you really need the feel for the orchestra, the space. But this one sounds pretty hi-fi-ish. It sounds very good.
Yeah, because it's basically an oompa band.
I lost you there for a second.
Oh, I pulled out something that might be of interest to you as an opera musician. You have any of the so like the RCA Living Stereos that had like a Soraya series? You ever heard about that?
A psoriasis? What?
Soraya series.
I don't know. I have a lot of opera. I have a whole set of operas, but I don't know.
It's not an opera series. What it was is kind of a few select recordings that RCA put out that were kind of in like deluxe packaging that had like these kind of fabric boxes. One of the famous ones is the Berlioz Requiem, the Reiner Don Quixote. But anyway, one of the ones I have that it's rare in that it almost never comes up for sale, but it's not rare in that it's worth hardly anything. But it's this Poulain recording La Voix qui l'âme. You ever played this opera?
Oh, yeah, it's a great opera. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yes. There's like also the Le Mamel de Teresia.
Huh?
Le Mamel de Teresia is about women's boobs, and the women, they go on strike and they get rid of the boobs or something like that.
Oh, I don't know that one. I have watched this, and it's it's an interesting stage show. It's great music though.
I played that with this conductor. He was like, maybe you, I can't. Coppola. He's related to Francis Coppola. Anton Coppola. And he looked like a Toscanini. And Anton Coppola was a well-known conductor in the New York area, so I played that piece with him. Yeah, long time ago.
Wow. Was that with New York City Opera?
No, it was a gig in New Jersey. It was some other playhouse thing. I don't know where it was.
Huh.
I was going to ask you, I have a lot of mood music because when I bought this collection from a musicologist, I got a lot of a lot of boxes were filled with mood music, you know.
Oh no.
Romantic music from the 50s. But a lot of them are living stereo, and some of them are great because this is the time where musicians, they will show up to the studio and play.
Yeah.
And they will make money. And so the best musicians were playing in some of these, a lot of the jazz, big bands I have. It's stuff that you've never heard of, but it's got good musicians in it. So I wanted to show you a couple. I mean, I have all of these Morton Gould things.
I've heard a lot about those, and people seem to like them. I don't think I've ever owned one or played one.
I have a lot of them, more than I would want to. This stuff, for example.
Huh.
It's got like, you know, like the...
Does he actually play the oboe that's to his right?
No, I don't think so. There's musicians. But it's a clarinet polka and, you know, all these things. Crowd pleasers.
Huh?
And then like this stuff.
I
a little more known.
I have that. I'm pretty sure I have that.
That's not really music. That's pops. But
yeah.
Well, like this.
Yeah, I don't know this one.
It's not, you know, it's not stuff we're used to hearing. But it's living stereo. They have a big catalog, right?
Yeah.
And then I have this one. This one I like. It's in pretty bad shape though.
That looks interesting.
It's a demo. It's a sampler, and it has a guide to stereo, and there's a person who narrates. And it has the Lieutenant Quiget. It has an excerpt from Lieutenant Quiget, which I think it sounds better on this copy than in the one that I have.
Really?
Yeah. They only used the beginning of it, but the bass drum and stuff like that sounds really hyped up. Like they equalize it just to show in the store, and you would buy it. So this is the label.
Yeah, I know all the pop ones were black.
Okay. So this has Rite of Spring with Montu and the Paris Conservatoire. I have Lieutenant Quiget with Chicago. I have that record, the Lieutenant Quiget. I have it in stereo reissue, and I also have it in mono.
Which reissue? The analog one?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that one. It's great.
Yeah. Anyway, it's got a bunch of things. It's interesting, but it's in bad shape. It doesn't play that well.
Yeah.
I need to find a special shibata for it.
I've got this one that this is probably the rarest living stereo in my collection. It's I got this at Amoeba Records in Los Angeles, and I don't think I've ever seen one come up for sale. And the recordings in it are not rare because you can go out and buy the recordings individually, and most of them are fairly easy to find. But this is the living stereo for Brahms Symphonies box set.
Oh, do I have that? What's the Vienna Philharmonic? Ah, I wonder. Would you mind if I look for a second? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Because
Because I've never seen one of these for sale on the internet.
No, I don't.
I know every classical musician has like 6 Brahms symphony box sets on their shelf, and they have which one is it today?
I think I have the Boston Symphony. Which one is this?
Well, so it's different recordings. So it's Karajan with Vienna, Monteau with Boston, Munch with Boston, and Reiner with Chicago.
Oh, maybe what I have Boston.
Uh-huh.
So that's what you were saying, that mine could be there, but
yeah,
part of it.
These were issued individually, but then they also sold this as a box set. And the individual issued recordings are easy enough to find. But this box set I haven't seen it anywhere.
Cool.
I think let's see. Have you ever gotten any of these? So you know how Analog Productions has been redoing the RCA series, right?
Yes.
And you have a couple of the 33s. Do you have any of the 45s?
Not in classical. I got some jazz ones.
This is incredible.
Really?
Yeah, I had the original 33 they did of this, and I played it all the time because this piece and this recording are just great. But on 45, I mean, it's annoying to have to get up to change sides every movement.
I was going to say that. But
at least they don't interrupt the movements.
You know, that's a salvation for cassettes. You can record all of that in a cassette and play it. And if you have a decent cassette player, it'll sound good. It's analog. That people say that that's the real purpose for cassettes is to record your 45s onto it. I mean, if you have a reel-to-reel, of course, that's even better. But
yeah, I wanna at some point I wanna make a because I've developed a pretty decent collection of singles now, especially like stuff from like the 70s, like Elvis Costello and like early like 70s British punk.
Yeah.
And I have a reel-to-reel. And what I want to do is get a reel-to-reel tape and make a tape of all these like British 70s singles that I have.
Yeah. I mean, you can do them in digital, but that's not fun.
No, it doesn't sound good.
You want to press the button and pause and press the button. Yeah.
Well, is that? Do you have anything else you wanna put
I have
on camera?
more, but I don't know how much your viewers can handle.
Oh, well, they put up with far worse for me. That's a great recording. I have that. That's fantastic.
This is the Big 10.
Oh no. Oh no.
Now I know. Now I know. Oh, this one is great though. This one I love.
I don't know that one.
Virgil Fox playing the organ at the 1/16th was
St. John the Divine?
No, higher up, the cathedral. Okay, it says here. It's 122nd, that's church there.
Oh, you mean the one by MSM, Riverside?
Riverside.
Oh.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, we had my graduation at Riverside.
Yeah, they did. They took an Audie and Skinner, and they took 2 organs with the gigantic pipes and a 5 manual keyboard. And sounds like you're there.
That's a really good sounding space. The space at Riverside Cathedral is nice for live performances. St. John the Divine, it's like playing in a bathtub. It's
yeah.
We did when I was at MSM, we did Verdi Requiem at St. John the Divine, and it was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I played a few concerts there. It was impossible. Harry Belafonte.
Oh, that's a good record. I don't have a copy of that on vinyl, but I've listened to it on streaming.
Yeah, it's good. Sounds pretty good.
You know, Michael Fremer loves that album.
Yeah, I like the one "The Woman Knows Best." That's one of the best ones. Yeah. The woman is smarter, I think. This was kind of rare, no? Howard Hanson. They have the Chavez.
I
Is
didn't
the
know
one
this
with the
existed.
Chavez? No, Ginastera. Ginastera.
I love Ginastera though.
Yeah.
I don't find enough of his music on vinyl.
It's good stuff. I like this. Good music. Oh, and it's got one of your labels that you like.
Yeah, I find that the Mercuries that were done at Eastman are the most rare. Like the ones conducted by Howard Hanson, they're much harder to find and they're much more expensive, tend to be. I have that. That's great.
Wozzeck. Lansam.
I think I've heard you play that opera, probably.
I love it. It's my favorite. Well, my favorite is Valkyrie, but yeah.
I think my favorite is Boris Godunov.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Oh, I love that piece. I love that piece.
Yeah,
I love this record.
I have bad news.
I actually recently, I've been wanting that record for a long time, and I recently got it on eBay for about $12. It's the original Shaded Dog. It's not one that people seek because it's not. They don't want Havanas, but
they don't know what they're missing. They don't know what they're missing. Havanas is like film music. That's what it sounds like today.
Yeah, I played that piece, Mysterious Mountain, my first summer at EMF with Gerard Schwartz. It's a ton of fun.
Well, we did it with the All-Star Orchestra with him conducting. It's somewhere on YouTube.
Yeah. I forgot you played in that.
That's a nice English horn part. Now this one is a White Dog, I think.
Is a what?
White Dog.
White Dog.
Is that any good?
Yeah. Yeah, those are great sounding. I don't have that record. So it's Rubinstein playing Liszt number 1 and what else?
Chicago. Yeah. Liszt number 1 and Rachmaninoff too. I mean, these were the golden times, you know, the Chicago Symphony in their prime with Reiner, Rubinstein. Those were the days. I
really like the some of my favorite piano records are the Mercuries of Byron Janis playing Rachmaninoff.
I have those. But are those?
I think those are with London.
Is that the one they did in Russia or something like that? No.
They did one of them. They did some solo piano stuff in Russia with him.
I think I have those.
But he did both Rachmaninoff 2 and Rachmaninoff 3 with the London Symphony with Dorati.
Okay.
And those are, I mean, talk about piano sound on a record. It's some of the best sounding recorded piano I have.
Fantastic. This is my last one.
I do not have that, unfortunately.
This with Copeland conducting and the Tenderland, I actually play. It's an opera. I played it. It's nice music. Great English horn parts. I mean, I did this with St. Luke's or something a long time ago. But nice music. And that's it. Enough torture for me. Oh no, I have more. Quickly. RCA. RCA.
Oh, Stokowski. Oh, that's
RCA.
I've seen pictures of these. I've never run across them in the wild.
I got this one sealed. It was sealed.
Yeah, that looks like it's never been touched.
Yeah, it was sealed. Caruso. It was like $6. Nobody cares about classical music or mono.
Yeah, unless you'd be surprised actually. Some classical collectors, if you got the right kind of stuff, it can get very expensive.
Yeah, but I mean like on the local shops, you know, like the ones, the regional ones, of course. And
no, I always like to whenever I go to a record store that I know is not a classical record store, like a rock shop or something, I always look in the classical bins because sometimes I'll find something that they don't know what they have.
I think Tabuto played on this one. This is Stokowski.
I mean, probably, yeah.
But it's his orchestra.
Ah.
But I think he played on some of these, and this is the Suono Tonera and Damnation Faust and Escal.
Well, I have the one. I forget what label it's on, but do you remember that record where Stokowski came back to conduct Philadelphia during the Ormandy years? He came back, and
Yeah.
a bunch of the principals from a bunch of the players from his era actually came back and sat as guests in the orchestra. I don't remember if Tabito played on that recording, but I think Minsker did. And I want to say it was, I think it was some Faya stuff. I want to say it was on, yeah, I think it was on Columbia.
Mm.
I think I have it in a Columbia 6i. I'll have to, later I'll dig it out and send it to you, but.
My last one, Rubinstein.
Of course. I could never get into Chopin.
Really?
No.
My favorite test record for testing the tracking on a record is the Delarc Chopin with Marcon Frager.
Oh.
If you can play that record, your cartridge is A-okay. It cannot handle the transients or it mistracks a lot because it's really recorded at a very high level. It's great quality. So it's good for testing the tracking on your cartridge. And
I'll have to look up that recording.
It's great playing and great pieces that he plays and beautifully recorded. I don't know. I like it a lot.
I don't know why I've never been able to get into Chopin, because I love Liszt. Like, I think Liszt is great, but Chopin to me is just, I don't know, a little too much mush.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean, but he has such an extensive this repertoire that he went through different stages. The Polonaises, some of them are really good. I like them. G minor ones, some of them are good.
I'm sure. It's not like he was a bad musician or a bad composer. I guess everyone just has their own taste. Well, I think I'm going to let you go here because we've been recording for quite a while now.
You can edit it.
We'll see. I think I don't know. I've put my viewers through more monotonous things before, so I'm sure this will be fine.
This was fun. I had such a great time. Thank you so much for. Originally, I wanted you on my channel so you can explain to my viewers about this stuff, but I'll just send them. I'll put the link on my channel too.
Okay, I'll come on next time. We'll figure it out.
But next time we can talk about Decca.
Okay.
Because I know you know about that too a lot, and I have a lot of Deccas too. I like to know how badly I'm doing or how well I'm doing with my collection.
All right,
anyway,
Pedro.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming on. I think my channel and my viewers are really going to appreciate this, appreciate your perspective, and love listening to what you have to say. So, all right.